show is AD on the radio.
Today on the show, we discuss why we, the enemies of white supremacy, of fascism, the KKK, and inequality, have to be better. We talk about where the left, the right, and the media went badly wrong in the wake of Charlottesville. Plus, Trump does something we should all be stoked about, and Funkhauser has become Facebook friends with a hot bartender he met last night. Is she into him?
Well, we're friends on Facebook now, right? So that should mean something.
Yeah, it means she doesn't want to give you the ability to make her phone ring.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
Oh, did you see? Did you see Trump did something good? Yeah. I'm all into this. Think you're going to be all into this too. And here's the thing. You might have picked up over the last couple of days that not a fan of Trump. But I want him to succeed. I want him to do well. I want him to lead our country effectively. Those people that want to see him crash and burn just so they can say they were right. It's kind of like not liking the look of your airline pilot and hoping that the plane that we're all in goes down in flames just so you can prove a point. What did Trump do that I'm all excited about that we can all get behind? We'll get into that a little later on in the show. Right now, though, let's back up for a second. We spent yesterday going after Nazis and white supremacists and our president's painfully weak pandering to the alt-right and the idea of white nationalism. The Donald pandered to a bunch of evil losers. And by the way, these losers, when we're talking about Nazi types, they're not metaphorical losers. The Nazis got their asses handed to them back in the 40s. And anyone who makes a decision to throw in with them must loathe themselves because they're actively seeking to be on the losing team. Your symbol shouldn't be a swastika. It should be a finger and a thumb in the shape of an L because you're a bunch of losers. There. But Trump pandered to this bunch of pathetic, weak cosplay basement boy Nazi butt munches. Not so much because he's a racist, not so much because Trump's a white supremacist or part of the KKK, but because he's so desperate. He's so desperate to be liked that when given an opportunity to be strong and unifying in the face of clear evil, when given an opportunity to be a president we could get behind, Donald Trump showed all the backbone of the slug that I found on my doorstep when Millhouse, my puppy, and I took our morning constitutional. And an especially slimy slug it was, too, by the way, just so we're clear on this. Anyways, Donald Trump sucked up to the KKK. We all saw it. And we saw that he sucked up to the KKK because he's afraid to lose the support of a base, which he somewhat ironically doesn't acknowledge he has. You notice that? Like he's clearly pandering to him. He just doesn't want to admit they're tight like that. Like he disavows Nazis and the KKK and the alt-right. But oh man, does the Donald get warm and sticky when he thinks about how into him they are. The white supremacist alt-right types. You know what they are? They're the white supremacist alt-right types. Those are the girls Donald Trump is plowing, who he thinks are a 3 at best. The alt-right are Trump's sort of clandestine back alley booty call. He's got like no problem texting them at 2 a.m. when the Slavic supermodel is snoozing with Prince Valium. But when they see him out and about, despite the fact that he violated them at the polling booth, oh, baby, just pull that lever for Trump and the Donald is going to take good care of you. Despite the fact that he violated them at the polling booth, he acts like they're strangers when he sees them in the street. Politics makes for strange bedfellows, it's true. But despite all the promises he made between the sheets, when Trump sees his piece of alt-right side ass in the street, he refuses to acknowledge they exist. But still, he doesn't want to lose their support. As much as he sort of disavows, okay, He doesn't really want to lose their support. He doesn't want to lose votes. He doesn't want to lose Twitter followers. So that's the status quo on Donald and the alt-right. By the way, doesn't Donald and the alt-right sound like the worst morning show ever, Funkhauser?
Yeah. Coming up, traffic.
Anyways. It's Donald and the alt-right on your radio. On Tuesday, Donald Trump offered this tacit and emboldening support to the white supremacist alt-right by refusing to condemn them by name. He took it one step further when he referred to them as very fine people. Yeah, very fine people who marched through the street with torches screaming that Jews will not replace us. That was wrong. What he did was wrong. The world agrees. How he handled that was wrong. Now, it's an antiquated cliche, but it's an expression that's been around forever. And it's been around forever for a reason. Two wrongs don't make a right. So while we've established Donald Trump's wrongdoing, we'll discuss the other wrong that isn't making a right next.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So Tuesday of this week, Donald Trump, like we said, offered this unspoken support to white supremacists, to the alt-right, by refusing to condemn them by name. He referred to them as, and I quote, very fine people. And like we said, that was wrong. That was something that Donald did wrong. And the whole world saw through it and went, wrong. Now, it's an old school cliche, but two wrongs don't make a right. And there are two very specific wrongs happening as this whole situation plays out. So let's look at the other wrong. This is where, well, you'd say the left, but really it was the left, the right, and the media that spoke out against Donald Trump and how he handled the situation. Because they did something wholly unnecessary. This is where the ball was dropped. This is where the ball was dropped, not just in the fight to make the political opposition look like a bunch of undesirable idiots. The ball was dropped for humanity. What we're talking about is similar to Trump's failure to condemn Nazis. A tremendous missed opportunity for unity and the prevailing of cooler heads. But before we get into exactly what we're talking about, I guess what we might want to do is to take a crash course in Antifa. Funkhauser, are you familiar with Antifa?
Not
like,
really.
It's kind of a... All right. Well, it's a growing thing, and it's growing in leaps and bounds in America, and in some senses all over the world. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. It's more of an idea. It's more of a philosophy than anything super constructed or organized. It's this sort of somewhat radical lefty idea of going after the far right. Sort of socialist and communist and anarchist types who actively reject the idea of turning to the proper authorities. I guess it's sort of like the anti-fascist version of we don't call 911 in this house. You've grown up in California. You might not have seen those signs. You seen those signs, Funkhauser?
Mm-mm.
We don't call 911. It's just a picture of a gun.
Mm-mm. Oh, I've seen them in like
distinct
person. Yeah.
Yeah, might be. Anyways, this is sort of, I suppose, the anti-fascist version of that. The idea is to halt the advance of white supremacy before it can even get going. It's the This goes back to anti-fascists who went up against Mussolini's black shirts and Hitler's forces back in the day. Now, look, obviously, hear me on this one. Vocal and visual opposition to inequality in all its forms is a great and necessary thing. Antifa, it's this growing faction. And like we said, it means anti-fascist. It's been around since the 20s. And as the alt-right picks up steam, as does Antifa. And there have been numerous physical, violent clashes in America's streets over the last 6 to 9 months or so. Stuff that we haven't really seen since the civil rights marches of the 60s. You saw their work at UC Berkeley, Portland, Charlottesville. Some people see them as these like heroes, these Nazi fighting heroes, these Nazi fighting vigilantes. Other people see them as violent hooligans. And think what you want of the idea of fighting inequality. I am 100% behind that all the way. However, when you're open to the criticism that your use of violence has forced venues to cancel things like speaking engagements by right-wing types, that's not very American. That's distinctly flying in the face of our First Amendment rights. So that's Antifa. They were a presence in Charlottesville. They've been growing increasingly violent over the last year or so. And they've been growing over the last year or so. See, what people in the Republican and Democratic Party and the media did that was so very wrong was to imply that the increasingly violent and militant Antifa far-left types were somehow justified. People compare them to the Allied forces. We saw that all over the internet. It's a clever meme. But people were comparing them to the Allied forces storming the beaches at Normandy. People were comparing them to Robin Hood and Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star. And that's dangerous. It's a simple narrative for simple people that need clearly defined, non-nuanced bedtime stories to sleep, and it's genuinely, genuinely dangerous. The acts of violence and vandalism have become unsettlingly routine at anti-Trump marches. And this isn't just scary because violence is scary. There's a historical precedent that lets us know that we, you, me, the enemies of fascism and racism and inequality, we have to be better.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So we've established who the Antifa types are, right, Funkhauser? We're clear on that one? An anti-fascist sort of organization, pan-organization. It's more sort of an ideology than anything else. People that are willing to be directly violent as a means of stopping inequality, white supremacy, Nazi, fascism, all of the above. All things that are, hear me on this one, things we must fight against. But, like I said, the more violent these clashes get, the more violent these clashes get on college campuses, the more dangerous this becomes. And it's not just dangerous because of the violence. The violence is scary. But there is a historical precedent that lets us know that you, me, we, the enemies of inequality, the enemies of fascism, the enemies of racism, we have to do better. See, you know how Hitler rose to power? And he convinced a previously sensible group of folks to try and wipe out the Jews and take over the world? You know how he accomplished that? Division. It's a powerful tool. One without which Hitler, Nazi Germany, wouldn't have been a thing. And fortunately for Hitler's deranged cause, this division was pretty easy to come by back in the day in Europe. Why? Because communist violence was in plentiful supply. People were scared. So that violence was a nifty political springboard for a certain single-testicled failed art student with a laughable mustache, as he did in fact convince a bunch of beer-drinking bratwurst lovers that they were short a sausage or two and they'd best get together and go after the sausage snafflers by way of unspeakable acts of genocide. Hitler's rise was predicated on division. And that division was predicated on violence and the fear that it caused among the people of Germany. Without that violence, without that inner turmoil, without that division in Germany, Hitler's legacy could have just been a bunch of really bad watercolors. But the violence was an unbelievably useful tool when it came to inspiring the necessary fear and division it takes for any Reich worth its salt to get off the ground. Now, I don't care if you want to name names and say Antifa or call out some other organization, but the increasing levels of violence that we've seen on the left, at anti-Trump marches, on college campuses, these kind of thuggish tactics, these thuggish, violent, scary tactics, when they're employed by any people who say they're on the side of equality, they do nothing to help. Understand that. Violence does nothing to help equality. Violence, the idea of violence, the threat of violence, this makes things worse. The threat of violence among the people of America. Understand, the alt-right aren't an army. They're horrible, awful, laughable, disgusting folks that have their heads firmly rooted up their own backsides. But they're not an army, and we're not at war with one another. Violence, the threat and the idea of violence, they make things worse. They destroy our shot at equality. They allow the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and the alt-right and the white supremacists to play their severely wussy victim card, which they've been doing. We're just trying to peacefully assemble. And then look, they come along with cudgels and they hit us. They make it easier to gather more frightened people to their cause. These violent acts. These violent acts make factions like the KKK and the alt-right and neo-Nazis bigger and stronger, and they make the divide between Americans deeper and wider. So I would ask you, if violence isn't the answer, what is? All right, we've been looking back at various bits of history over the last week or so as we take in what's happening in our present. But if I were to ask you, who was it that did the most for equality in modern history? If I ask you who did the most for equality in modern history, who would you say? What would your answer be? So, if you're like most people that I've talked to about this, the person who did the most for equality in modern history is a man who insisted on nonviolence. And you know what? There's a reason this person had a policy of nonviolent, peaceful assembly. And he had this policy of nonviolence in the face of murder and lynching and unspeakable abuses. All things that would have justified retaliation. This was a man who knew that violence and fear would only set him back in his quest for equality and freedom and individual liberty and the self-evident truth that we are all created equal. He spoke about it. He said that nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon, which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it. It is a sword that heals. He also, I suppose this one's a bit more of a well-known quote. He also said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King. Oh, excellent pick, Funkhauser. I see what you did here.
What did I do here?
Bobby McFerrin's Common Threads.
Mm-hmm.
We are all the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what's incredible about these Bobby McFerrin albums? There's and I this is one of those things where I feel like everybody knows it, but then when we talk about it, people don't. You know what you're listening to here? What instruments you're listening to? Here, turn it up a little bit. This is just one guy. There's no instruments.
A lot
this
of
is just him
dudes
sort of
and
like doots and like tapping on the chest, and it's incredible. You know what I think amazes me the most about this stuff is the fact that, like, it's one thing to layer yourself and write lots of doots and and have it come out this beautiful piece of music. Like, you put me in the right situation and make me listen to this. Don't bother me for a little while because I'll tear up. This unspeakably gorgeous, evocative composition. Ah, listen to this. Sorry. It's beautiful. It really is. But, like, it's incredible to, you know, recreate all the instrumentation with just your voice and your voice alone. However, what blows me away the most about a guy like Bobby McFerrin is his vision. Like, it's one thing to sing all these parts, but to compose it, to come up with the idea, and then step outside yourself and see the entirety of it, and then make that happen. It's visionary genius. I mean, it's not enough that the guy was, like, blessed with a singing voice that is... Look, some people can sing, and that can be taught and that can be trained, but Bobby McFerrin is one of those guys that has something that was given to him by something else. Like, this is a man with a voice. And as if that weren't enough, he's also a genius to the point where he can conceive of all this in his mind, compose it, and then go in and sing it and make it happen. Turn it up a little bit. Amazing. Well, Bobby McFerrin gets a bad rap because of "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Yeah.
I think, you know, like he kind of gets.
That's all I knew of him.
His significant. Yeah, and like this album's called Medicine Music. Get it? It's amazing. It will take you away. It's an album that can take you away to a different place, and then occasionally you get jolted back to reality by the realization that this is just one guy doing all this stuff with the human voice, and you're like, holy freaking gosh, it's insane. All right, so like I said at the beginning of the show, Trump did something good today. Yay! It's something that we can all be happy about and I'll get behind, and we'll get into exactly what that is. I guess it'll be the dessert at the end of the show. We'll talk about what Trump did that was awesome a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Funkhauser, let's take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News.
All righty. Well, Robert De Niro turned 74.
Oh, right. If you're looking for a gift, I think you could definitely use a script reader who can say the word no. Like, did you see? Is he running out of money or something? Like,
Maybe he just
I
wants
mean,
to do
this
everything.
is Robert De Niro.
It's hard to say
This
no.
is Godfather. This is Taxi Driver. This is, what was that movie where he played like an intern, like a retiree who winds up going to the office because of, I mean, it's very, very good in absolutely everything he does. But like, is it just like I mean, maybe it's something that you're driven to do before you hang it up. Because look at Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is remaking Indiana. Well, he's doing Indiana Jones. He did Star Wars, and I think he's redoing. He's doing a follow up to Blade Runner. All these movies that he did in his prime, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He's going out. He's blazing a trail. He's leaving a legacy. But here's the thing, like, at least Harrison Ford is involved in, Star Wars and Blade Runner and Indiana Jones. Robert De Niro is doing movies, like I said, like The Intern. It's a wacky, zany comedy about a retiree who gets hired at a company where he doesn't know how to turn on a computer. Oh, the hijinks will ensue, and we'll all learn something at the end. Come on! Do a follow-up to Taxi Driver.
Well, who was the female actor opposite Mr. De Niro in The Intern? Was it
Taxi?
Jennifer Aniston?
The Intern?
I think?
I don't know. No,
Somebody.
No. Yeah, it's somebody. It was somebody. I'm sure it was cute. It might.
I would do it for the somebody.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
You get Jodie Foster and Robert De Niro back for a reboot of Taxi Driver, then we're talking. All right. What else?
Daniel Craig is
news before we go to break.
Daniel Craig is returning as James Bond.
Wow, it's getting a little long in the tooth to play Bond. Not to say Daniel Craig's getting old, but I believe his love interest will be the Russian spy named Ivana Knapp.
Son, you walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior.
So this morning I woke up, I opened up the newspaper and saw something that made me go, oh, good job, Trump. Yeah, I can get behind that. What did Trump do that we can all be happy about? We'll get into that a little later on in the show. Right now, though, let's take a look at what remains of the news. Funkhauser.
Well, on September 16th, the Insane Clown Posse's Juggalos and a group of white supremacists will be marching on the mall in Washington. Watch out for the Juggalos.
Oh, man. So they're not doing this together. They just, scheduling conflict. That's a good day to avoid the mall in Washington. like white supremacists and juggalos. Do you know why the juggalos are marching on Washington?
No.
This all came from the FBI's National Gang Threat Assessment Report back in 2011, and it classifies the juggalos as a gang. The official website for the Juggalo March says, quote, "This demonstration is about standing up for the rights of people who have been profiled, discriminated against, and unjustly treated simply for identifying with a particular music group or genre of music. If you are a patriotic American who believes that freedom and the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are damn good things, you are encouraged to be part of the Juggalo March." But, as it turns out, this is going to be a crowded day at the mall in D.C. September 16th is the date that they picked for what they're calling the Mother of All Rallies, hosted by Trump supporters. The exact same day. The Mother of All Rallies participants will, quote, "demand protection for traditional American culture while they express their love for the United States and the America First agenda." There's going to be a bunch of speakers. I don't think it's going to be exclusively white supremacists. There's that guy, Marco Gutierrez. He founded Latinos for Trump. And there will be live music. Not Juggalo music, but there will be live music from Trump-supporting musicians. So what do you think? You think the Juggalos and Trump supporters are going to be able to get along on the same day? What do you suppose?
I really hope so. But something tells me.
Something tells me this
something's
might not
going to
go
happen.
well. Whoop, whoop. That's what Juggalos say, Funkhauser.
Oh, really?
Whoop, whoop. Yeah,
That's the sound of the
Like,
15s while they hitting in my trunk. I said, whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, no, that's a different band.
Very good. That's a. If you're a Juggalo and you see another Juggalo and you want to, like if I see somebody else in a Mets t-shirt, like I might go, hey, let's go Mets. Juggalos, if they see another Juggalo, like if you're in an ICP t-shirt and you see someone in a Twisted t-shirt or notice how I know more than one Juggalo band? Impressive, right? If you see somebody else in a Juggalo t-shirt, across, say, I don't know, the DC Mall, you just go whoop whoop, and they go whoop whoop. It's kind of like a duck call for people that like a certain type of rap music. Well, I'll be very interested to see what happens on that particular day. If I had plans to be in the DC Mall on September the 16th, I would cancel them.
I hope their cell phone plans give them enough to live stream. We'll see how long their parents let them use it for. How much data.
Oh. Hey, man. Juggalos isn't just about kids. Like, I think recently they had, it was the 18th gathering of the Juggalos happened. Like, the 18th gathering of the Juggalos. And at the 18th gathering of the Juggalos, they actually had Juggalo attendees that were conceived at the first gathering of the Juggalos. And some of them brought their grandchildren. See what I did there?
That's not a joke.
Okay.
Eminem is selling his mansion in Detroit for $5 million, less than half of what he bought it for 14 years ago.
That was a bad investment. A lot of Detroit rappers in the news today. Do you know, like Juggalos or
I didn't know that
Insane Clown Posse? They're from Detroit. Oh, there used to be massive beef between Eminem and the Insane Clown Posse. Now, when it comes to being rappers, Eminem is in a distinctly different category than, the rest of the known universe, but especially the guys in Insane Clown Posse, who are, fun and who they've written songs that make me laugh. I can't deny it. So I will not tell you that I haven't gotten a certain amount of glee by turning up some Insane Clown Posse music over the years. But when it comes to skills as a rapper, Eminem dwarfs, everyone, but especially the Insane Clown Posse. How much he's selling his mansion for? How much? $5 million. $5 million. And he bought it for how much? 14 years ago.
Probably 10 million.
Bought it for. Gosh. You know what that tells you? That tells you that there's a pretty slim chance it's not in a shady part of town.
Okay.
Thank you very
Fine.
much. Thank you. Thanks.
Probably is on 8 Mile, which is now a tourist attraction, I'm sure. Drake is in the news. Drake's 430-week streak on the Billboard charts has just ended. So we all know how that hotline
but his
blinks.
decade-long streak. His decade-long streak as the world's most popular mixed-race Canadian Jewish rapper continues. Yeah. He's from the very gangster streets of Degrassi. Started from the bottom, now he's here. If by the bottom you mean sort of like a $30,000 an episode child acting gig, then yes, he did start at the bottom. The struggle is real. What?
Sean Penn turns 57 today.
By the way, that's like 399 in annoying anger. Overly angry liberal years. I think he's celebrating by treating his friends and family to a screaming 6-hour diatribe about Haiti. Happy birthday.
Spotify has removed music from its service by bands that promote hatred. Uh-oh.
I saw that. It's interesting that Daily Stormer blog website, the neo-Nazi thing that everybody noticed, and is why Trump got in so much hot water over the way he failed to respond to white supremacy, is because this article came out in the Daily Stormer where they were like, hey, see how he completely refused to disavow us? We grow stronger every day. Well, the Daily Stormer has been taken down from its server, and Spotify is digitally removing all evidence of hate. If you're removing bands that inspire hatred, there goes the Nickelback.
Stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Funkhauser, why are you so tired today? Were you out at a bar until really late last night?
Oh, yeah. I was filming something late last night, and I mistook the...
I'm going to guess the work portion of the... I'm guessing the work portion of the evening ended before 3 a.m. So with the... Was there a female at this bar that you were...
Oh, yeah. Well,
I had a private bet with myself when you were like, I was out working till 3 a.m. at a bar. I was really... And Funkhauser, you have to understand, is not a booze hound. He's not someone who's like, party. I don't think I've ever heard Funkhauser use the word party as a verb. And I had a private bet with myself that if you were out till 3 a.m., you must have met a girl.
You know that's rare.
Did you?
Well, I met a bartender.
I mean,
that doesn't really
did.
count, does it? If you meet somebody who's on the job. But she did give me her Facebook. Her Facebook profile. We are Facebook friends, which I thought was more intimate than getting someone's phone number. But no, I have a new Facebook friend as of 2:30 last night.
What does it mean when you get someone's... What does it mean when you become someone's Facebook friend?
Yeah, I don't know.
As
What's the
opposed
etiquette
to-
with that? Can
You know what it
hang out?
means?
I mean...
It means I don't want you to be able to make my phone ring. That's what it means.
Yeah, it seems that way.
It's hedging your bets. It's like, this might go somewhere, but I'm going to... Although, dude, with the Facebook Messenger thing... Mm-hmm. There's a phone calling feature on that. I use it sometimes to talk to my dad. It's super, as much as I have a problem with Zuckerberg in all things and in all ways, the Facebook Messenger app, my dad lives in Kosovo, not a place that is well known for its telecom services. And so, trying to get a phone call through to my dad used to be miserable, and then sort of Skype came in, and that wasn't that great either. But I can walk Millhouse, call my dad over Facebook Messenger, and it sounds like he's in the next room. It's an unsettlingly clear connection. It's really, really freaking useful. So Facebook, you could make her phone ring. And it's a little weird because occasionally, like once or twice, as I've been snoozing off, making my way to the land of Nod, my phone's rung and it's been the Facebook Messenger, and it's been someone like I don't even know, like a listener that managed to friend me on Facebook before I realized what Facebook was all about. And like my phone rings, I'm like, it's a little late to request Metallica, and invariably like they apologize because they're like, sorry, that didn't mean to do that, was just trying to send you a message. And I'm like, okay, but you can, if you want to, Funkhauser, I'm pretty sure you can make her phone ring.
I could try. You want me to do it right now?
How creepy and invasive
very...
No, don't do that. Don't. In fact, just don't do that.
I met a buddy who...
How creepy and invasive would that...
I met a new buddy, and all he does is like pictures before he friends the person. And I think that is the creepiest thing. Like some random stranger likes your stuff. Isn't it?
That is extraordinarily creepy. You know how, like...
like, you don't friend them first? You like their pictures? Oh, man.
I was thinking, like, I think it would be a funny thing to do, and I haven't done this because people will take it the wrong way, but, like, I was thinking of going to, like, people's Instagram feeds and then scrolling back down to, like, the very first thing they ever posted 5 years ago and liking it. Like, I think that would be funny because it means you've been stalking them and going through all their stuff. But yeah, no, that is creepy that your friend likes everybody's stuff before.
I got a question to ask you.
A friend request.
Speaking of this social media thing.
And by the way, just hold on. But before you ask your question, do not make that girl's phone ring. That's creepy, weird stuff. Whoa, we're Facebook friends, so I figured I could call you through a method that you weren't expecting. That would be weird.
Phone talking is intense. It's not something you just randomly. Hey.
Well, just the fact that, the phone rang, like, she gave you her Facebook for a reason. It's because she's like, I think I like you, but I'm hedging my bets and I'm not so sure. Maybe we could message on Facebook. Or
she's like, I think I like what you do, but not I think I like you. I think I like what you do.
And so if she's just sitting there and the phone rings and it's Barry Funkhauser on Facebook Messenger, she's going to be like, stalker. Weird. Yep. Delete /block /move.
I'll never do that again. /move.
and delete, block, move. That's what you would do. All right, so what was your question?
What happens if, like, an ex of yours decides to unblock you and, like, a bunch of tagged pictures appear from years ago? How are you supposed to handle that? You got to go through and untag yourself from pictures from years ago, or you just not care?
Well, I mean, they're not going to show up in your timeline because they're from years ago, right? Or did she recently tag you in them? No. They've been tagged for years, but I've been blocked. And now I'm unblocked. For some strange reason, I'm unblocked. And all of these old pictures appear with my tag face in them. So I'm wondering if I should just go and unclicky or just like, meh. Nope. It's a game. You ignore it. Because if you go and untag yourself, you're now involved. You're now engaged in whatever the hell it is they're doing. And that's what, that's basically a hook in the water, hoping you're going to come along and go, this looks like a delicious worm. Gump. Apparently that's the sound a funkfish makes when it bites down on the worm that has been laid out by an ex on a hook. Gump.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we know. Wait. Which ex was this? How many generations back are we going?
The God-fearing Christian finally appeared back into the world with. Yeah, the one in question.
It's so funny because we were just talking about her on the radio the other day and how she wanted to swing and how you narrowly missed topping into bed with a couple that had every simplex of herpes known to man.
All of a sudden, lo and behold,
it's almost like we said her name 3 times.
She magically appeared. That's what happened.
I wonder if she listens.
I don't know. I think everyone listens. Don't they? Doesn't everyone listen? Hi, everyone.
Some people listen.
How are you?
All right. Hello, all of Funkhauser's exes. See, and that would be weird if they were, but here's the thing about, like, radio listening, or if you listen over podcast. Like, stalking takes effort, but you have a radio show that you're on every single day that you could just pop on in the background. I wonder how Funkhauser's doing. Let me just take a listen. Like, that's all you got to do. And doesn't qualify as creepy stalking. It's just like, oh, yeah, I like listening to the radio. And, oh, look, you're on it.
Yeah, it's
Can
awesome,
open,
isn't it?
worms everywhere. For us, it is. For you,
Fine, I'll take it. No big deal.
All right, how long
keep
do we
them
have
coming.
left in show?
8.
Okay. All right. So we got some more time to talk about news before we talk about what Trump did that was awesome today.
Royal Caribbean is having Bonnie Tyler perform Total Eclipse of the Heart on one of their cruise ships during the upcoming eclipse.
That's awesome. Bonnie Tyler must be like, I wonder if she was fielding offers from all sorts of different, like, hey, we want you to show up on the day of the eclipse and sing Total Eclipse of the Heart.
And
I
do you
wonder
raise
if
your
Royal
rates
Caribbean
just for that?
Came in with Royal Caribbean came in with the highest bid. And she's going to sing this on a cruise ship. She's going to sing Total Eclipse of the Heart on one of their cruise ships. Oh, man.
Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you never.
Well, one can only hope it goes better than when they had the Scorpions perform Rock You Like a Hurricane. Bad idea. Go on.
Turn around. A study found that 12% of people have been in a relationship with someone they thought was ugly.
Oh, okay. Seeing as we're talking about your exes,
12%.
Bunkhauser, did you think any of them were? Did you think any of them were ugly?
Not like my exes. Nah, they're pretty. I go for pretty people. No. I mean, now? Let's see. Let me think way back and then now. No, they're still holding up. No, I can still compliment them on their flowered beauty there for a little longer.
Okay, good. All right.
Ask me
12%
in
of people
5
have been in
years.
relationships with. Well, no, I don't think it matters what they look like in 5 years. It matters what they look like when you were in a relationship with them. Because, it'd be an interesting dichotomy to be in a relationship with somebody that you thought was actually physically unattractive.
Why would you do that?
I'm not trying to demean people for their looks, but, generally speaking, relationships have a spark of physical attraction in them. So, yeah, 12% of people have been in a relationship with someone they thought was ugly, or in Bill Clinton's case, several of them at the same time. Go on.
Some people are worried about bad weather during the solar eclipse.
Yeah. They're worried it won't be sunny enough for the eclipse to be dramatic. Well, I mean, you can just hang around until the sun goes down, and it's kind of the same thing. There's always that.
It's a good song.
What a voice on this woman. Amazing.
Would you go on that cruise?
I think that was
just
something.
For that?
No.
that isn't enough for you to.
Yeah, no. I cruise ships, I'm just not convinced they're a good idea. I've never been on a cruise that lasted longer than a day. And that cruise was like a day cruise. It was like Florida over to some islands, and it took like 3 or 4 hours. And I went, this is cruising? People do this for weeks at a time? No thanks. It was just okay being on the boat for several hours. I couldn't imagine trying to do that for any extended length of time. So no, not going to be cruising anywhere anytime soon.
At a department store in North Carolina, someone posed several mannequins, so they were giving a Nazi salute.
Oh. Really? What store? Oh. KKK Mart. Gotcha.
That's still in business? Reminds me, I need a
Karate
Kathy.
Kid on the KKK Mart?
No, it just reminds me I need a Kathy Ireland towel. I think I can get one there.
Kathy Ireland has a brand of towels?
Yeah, doesn't she? From 20 years ago, they still sell it there at the KKK Mart.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, we should.
I mean, the Kmart.
We should be clear. We're satirizing the fact that people set up mannequins posed in a Nazi salute. We do not actually believe that Kmart is in any way, shape, or form a racist or white supremacist organization. I actually kind of see Kmart as the kinder, gentler store. Like, I haven't seen a
you should go
Kmart
to
in
one.
forever. I haven't been into a Kmart in longer, but it's just, like you hear all these things about Walmart being like this. Walmart are not painted in a positive light. by society as a whole. And while people might not have been fans of Kmart at the time, like if you compare Kmart versus Walmart, I think Kmart is supposed to be the nice guys, right?
Sure. I like going in there. You can get candy and...
All right, what else?
And workout clothes. President Trump's approval rating is at 34%.
Oh, it's like as popular as Usher is on Tinder.
Aw.
It took a second, but you remember the story. All right. So this is your wrap it up and say something good about America music, right?
Yeah.
Funkhauser? This is why we should be happy today. This is something good. Suffer what there is to suffer. Enjoy what there is to enjoy. And you know what? If you're like me, you might not like him, but you hope Trump is a screaming success because, like I said earlier in the show, it's like willing Trump to fail or willing any president to fail is like going, I don't like the look of my Uber driver. I hope he crashes so I can prove my point. I don't like the look of that airline pilot. I hope we all go down in flames so I can talk about how right I am from my hospital bed. Trump did this thing. He signed a bill giving veterans expanded college assistance. It's the Forever GI Bill. The bill passed the Senate unanimously, and VA Secretary David Shulkin said it restores benefits to veterans who were impacted by school closures since 2015. It's got special benefits for our reservists, surviving dependents, and Purple Heart recipients. Since the GI Bill's creation in 1944 during the Second World War, it's been updated a bunch of times to help veterans pay for college and training. The last expansion, this is according to U.S. News, the Post-9/11 Veterans Education Assistance Act, often called the Post-9/11 GI Bill, was 8 years ago. And basically the deal is this, and I'm so glad it passed unanimously. This is basically going, hey, you are no longer limited to a 15-year term on educational benefits for post your service to this country. You were willing to die, and we're going to give you a shot. You were willing to die for our freedom, and in honor of that, we're giving you a shot at an education whenever you want it for the rest of your life. And that is something that if you're like me, you should be elated about.